Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's shared reading lesson. And back by popular demand, we are going to read another book of George and Martha, filled with different stories that you can read about this friendship between these two hippopotamuses. And everyone said they loved this book last week when Mrs. Gatto read it to them, so I chose another book. This one is called George and Martha, Rise and Shine. And the story we're going to read together today is called The Fibber. The Fibber. And as you learned last week, George and Martha has some tricky new words or phrases that we may have never heard before. So before we start reading, we're just going to review a few words or phrases together so that when you see them in the story, you're ready to read. So let's do that together. As I told you, this week's story is called The Fibber. You may have heard your parents call you a fibber when you tell a small little story that's not really true, or you may have stretched the story a little bit and added some parts that weren't really true. So a fib is a small little lie, a lie that you tell, like something that's not the truth. And a person who lies is called a fibber. So we will have to read to see who is the fibber in this story. Do you think it's George? Or do you think it's Martha? I remember in Miss Gatto's story last week, someone didn't tell the whole truth. And I think it was George about not liking the split pea soup. So I wonder if George will be the fibber in this story too. We'll have to read and see. The next phrase that we're going to come across is impress. And to impress someone means to kind of have them respect you or admire you. Or if you're impressed by someone or you impress someone, they might say, wow, you did a great job, or wow, I wish I could do that, right? So to impress someone, to make them feel proud of you. The next phrase that we're going to see in this story is to charm. To charm. And if you look, I drew little hearts on this phrase. To charm someone means to get them to really like you or to even fall in love with you. So to charm. Who's going to charm someone or something in this story? And the last phrase that we're going to see that I thought you might not be sure of is for shame. For shame. And shame means to be embarrassed, to feel embarrassed or like kind of sad that you did something or regret that you did something. So I'm thinking that maybe whoever told the fib or whoever the fibber is might feel shamed or embarrassed because they told that fib. So let's read to find out who the fibber is and what they decide to fib about. Here we go. George and Martha. Number one, the fibber. Let's take a sneak peek and see what's going to happen in this story. Okay, so it looks like they are at Martha's house because Martha is the one serving the tea to George. And we know that they like to meet together and drink tea and cookies, but I don't see cookies this time. And it looks like Martha, we always know it's Martha because she always has her skirt and her flower in her hair. Martha is carrying a big giant snake and she looks really happy about that. So, I'm thinking maybe she's trying to impress George with the snake. I don't know. We'll have to read and see. Or maybe someone fibbed about liking snakes. That could be true. Someone told a fib because they were trying to feel brave. So they said that they liked snakes. I don't know. Oh my gosh, boys and girls, do you see that? Look at these feet up here on the light fixture or the chandelier in Martha's house. That must be George. So I'm gathering right from the picture that George is afraid of snakes. I'm already thinking who the fibber is and what the fib might have been. I see that George might be afraid of the snakes, and Martha looks a little confused. We will have to read and see. Let's go back to the beginning. Remember, boys and girls, when we do a shared reading, I want you to do your best to read with me and keep your voices sounding like one voice, okay? I'm going to zoom in so we can see the words a little bit clearer. And like I said, just do your best to try to stay with me. Here we go. The Fibber. One day, George wanted to impress Martha. I used to be a champion jumper, he said. Martha raised an eyebrow. And, said George, I used to be a wicked pirate. Said Martha. George tried harder. Once I was even a famous snake charmer. You know what that means? That means he used to get snakes to really like him and be able to get snakes to come close to him. A snake charmer. Oh, goody, said Martha. Boys and girls, we already know who the Fibber is. George is fibbing, telling fibs to try to impress Martha. Let's keep reading. Whoa. Martha went to the closet and got out Sam. Here's a snake for you to charm. Eek! Cried George, and he jumped right out of his chair. Uh-oh. Remember, this is the page where George is up top in the chandelier. Let's read it together. It's only a toy stuffed snake, said Martha. I'm surprised a famous snake charmer is such a scaredy cat. I told some fibs, said George. For shame, said Martha. But you can see what a good jumper I am, said George. That's true, said Martha. And that's the end of the story, boys and girls. Who was our Fibber? Our Fibber was George, and he lied about being all these great famous things because he wanted to impress Martha. And Martha told him at the end, she says, for shame. You should be embarrassed for lying to me, lying to your friend, right? So again, boys and girls, this is another story of George and Martha where they're teaching us to be honest with our friends and to tell the truth always, because your friends are already your friends. Your friends already like you. You don't have to impress them. So, boys and girls, what I would like you to do this week is I would like you to come back to this video, and I would like you to try to read this story again and again. So each time it gets a little bit easier and your voice gets a little bit smoother. And maybe, boys and girls, you could even teach someone in your family, maybe a brother or sister, some of these new words or phrases that you heard or read in our story today, and you could teach them what they mean now that you've read George and Martha and you see how the author used them. Okay? So, boys and girls, have a wonderful week. Happy reading. And I hope you're falling in love with George and Martha as much as Moscato and I love George and Martha. And you continue to read stories about this wonderful friendship. Bye.